Imagine you spent months training a new driver. You invested in the equipment, you secured the contracts, and you're ready to put them to work. But on February 6, 2026, your entire business model in the state of Florida hits a brick wall. The Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, the FLHSMV, just dropped a bombshell in a statewide directive issued on January 30th. They announced that every single driver's license exam, from your basic Class E to your heavy duty Class A CDL, will now be administered exclusively in English. No more Spanish manuals, no more Haitian Creole knowledge tests, no more interpreters sitting in the cab during the skills test. If you can't pass the test in English, you aren't getting a license in the state of Florida, period. This isn't just a minor policy change. This is a seismic shift in how we do business in one of the most multilingual states in the country. In Hillsborough County alone, nearly 40% of all driving tests were taken in a language other than English last year. Overnight, those thousands of potential drivers are now ineligible until they can achieve full English proficiency. But why now? Why is Florida taking a nuclear option? To find the answer, we have to look back at the tragedy on the Florida Turnpike that turned a safety regulation into a political war. Now, on this video, I'm doing a deep dive into the Florida lockdown. I want you to watch the full video. Then once you're done, make sure you check out the article below in the description box from FreightWaves. On August 12, 2025, the Florida Turnpike became the scene of a preventable tragedy that changed the trucking industry forever. A semi-truck operated by a driver named Harjinder Singh was traveling near Fort Pierce. Singh attempted an illegal U-turn at a medium turnaround, a move that is strictly prohibited for commercial vehicles. His trailer ended up blocking both lanes of the highway. A minivan carrying 3 people slammed into the side of that trailer at full speed. All 3 people in that van, Haitian immigrants who were just trying to get home, were killed instantly. When the Florida Highway Patrol arrived, they realized something terrifying. Singh couldn't speak English. He couldn't understand the officer's command. He couldn't explain what he had done. The subsequent investigation by the FMCSA uncovered a massive failure in the system. Singh had reportedly failed the English proficiency assessment 10 times in 2 months in 2023. Yet, he still managed to secure a CDL from Washington State and later a non-domiciled CDL from California. When federal investigations interviewed him after the crash, he could only answer 2 out of 12 basic verbal questions and could only identify 1 out of 4 standard traffic signs. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy didn't mince words. He called the crash a preventable tragedy caused by reckless decisions and despicable failures. He blamed the states of Washington and California for breaking the rules and letting an unqualified driver behind the wheel of a 40-ton weapon. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Attorney General James Uthmeyer decided that if the federal government couldn't stop unqualified drivers, Florida would. The new policy taking effect on February 6th is the first phase of Florida's response. It is a total cleansing of the licensing system. Previously, Florida offered knowledge exams in multiple languages. For non-commercial licenses, you could take the test in Spanish, Portuguese, or Creole. For CDLs, the knowledge portion was available in English and Spanish. As of February 6th, that is over. The computerized test. All Spanish and other language versions of the Class E and CDL knowledge exams are being wiped from the systems. The skills test. If you are taking your road test, you are no longer allowed to use a translation device or bring an interpreter into the vehicle. You must be able to understand the examiner's command in English in real time. Third-party testing. This isn't just at the DMV. This mandate applies to every third-party testing provider in the state. If they caught a provider using an interpreter, that provider faces immediate decertification. The FLH SMV is framing this as a safety leadership move. They argue that clear communication is a fundamental requirement of responsible driving. If you can't read the sign that says no U-turn, or you can't understand a trooper at a way station, you are a hazard to everyone else on the road. But for many carriers, this feels like an attack on their workforce. Immigrant drivers make up roughly 18% of the national trucking workforce. In Florida, that number is even higher. By cutting off the Spanish path to a CDL, Florida is effectively slowing down the pipeline of new drivers at a time when capacity is already tight. If you think the English only test is the end of it, you haven't seen Senate Bill 86. While the DMV is changing the testing rules, the Florida Senate is moving forward with legislation that is designed to punish the carrier into compliance. SB 86 is the most aggressive trucking legislation we have seen in decades. Under SB 86, if it is signed into law enforcement detention, troopers will be required to take into custody any truck driver determined to be an undocumented immigrant and transfer them to ICE. Truck impoundment. The truck, regardless of who owns it, will be immediately impounded and issued a $50,000 fine. The owner of the vehicle will be hit with that $50,000 civil penalty for allowing an unauthorized or unqualified driver to operate that equipment. The state ban. The motor carrier will be banned from operating in the state of Florida until they can prove 100% compliance with all federal and state safety rules. This is what I call the carrier death penalty. A $50,000 fine per occurrence is enough to bankrupt a small fleet or owner-operator. Florida is telling carriers, if you hire someone who skipped the English test in California and bring them into our state, we will take your truck and your money. This bill is a direct response to the chameleon carrier and ghost fleet issues we've discussed before. Florida is tired of being the end of the road for drivers who shouldn't have a license. They are putting the financial burden of verification squarely on the shoulders of the business owner. Florida isn't just looking within its own borders, they are going after the source states. In the wake of the Turnpike crash, Florida officials officially requested that the FMCSA audit and decertify the CDL programs in Washington and California. They argue that these states are safety threats to the rest of the country because they are issuing licenses in violation of the federal English proficiency rule. Secretary Sean Duffy has already threatened to revoke $160 million in federal funding for California because a federal audit found that 1 in 4 non-citizen CDLs reviews should never have been issued. This is a civil war between the states. Florida is essentially saying, if California won't enforce the law, we will treat every California licensed driver as a high-risk suspect the moment they cross our state line. For you, the titan of your business, this means your out-of-state drivers are now under a microscope. If your driver has a Washington or California driver's license and they get pulled over in Florida, expect 100% full-blown English proficiency check. And if they fail, the OOS, the out of service order, is just the beginning. So how do you survive the Florida lockdown? You cannot wait for the law to catch you. You have to be proactive. Audit your driver pool today. Do not take a CDL at face value. Just because a driver has a Class A from California doesn't mean they can pass an English check in Florida. You need to conduct your own internal ELP assessments. The 2 of 12 test. Use the same standard the FMCSA used after the Turnpike crash. Ask your drivers basic open-end questions about their equipment and the road. If they can only answer 2 out of 12, they are a $50,000 liability to your company. Invest in training. If you have great drivers who are struggling with English, get them into English proficiency readiness courses now. It is cheaper to pay for a language class than to pay for a $50,000 fine and lose your truck to an impound lot. verify non-domicile paperwork. If you hire drivers on H-2A, H-2B, or E-2 visas, make sure their state level paperwork matches their federal status. The alignment of these dates is exactly what the federal auditors are looking for. This crackdown is going to have a massive impact on the economy. Let's talk about rates. As unqualified drivers are removed from the road, capacity will tighten. For those of us running legal, proficient fleets, this is an opportunity to command higher rates. Insurance. Expect insurance companies to start asking for proof of English proficiency before they bind a policy for a Florida-based fleet. Compliance costs. Your cost per mile is going to go up because of the increased administrative work required to verify your driver. The Florida standard is likely to spread. Oklahoma and other states are already drafting similar bills. We are moving towards a national English or bust reality for the trucking industry. In this business, we talk about the titans. A titan isn't just someone with a lot of trucks. A titan is someone who respects the responsibility of the road. 3 people died because a driver couldn't read a sign and couldn't understand a basic safety rule. That is the reality we have to face. Florida's response might feel harsh, and the $50,000 fine might feel like an attack, but at the end of the day, safety is the only currency that matters in trucking. If you can't communicate, you can't operate. It's that simple. I want to hear from you. Do you think Florida is going too far by removing Spanish tests, or is this the safety reset the industry has been waiting for? Drop a comment below. I want to see the debate in the comments section. Make sure you smash that like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you know when I drop another video. And if you're trying to get into the final mile box truck game, check out my free course on YouTube. The link is in the description box below. Also, check out the video below on the screen. On this video, I talk about why your insurance premiums are projected to rise 20 to 40%, nuclear verdicts and how they destroy small carriers, social inflation on the insurance market, and I talk about a little bit more. So once again, I'm Marcellus with Trucking with MBR. Stay safe out there on the road, and I'll see you on the next video.